Come to me, Stendarr, for without you I might be deaf to the man-sworn murmurings of thy people, and forgetting their need for comfort and wisdom, I might indulge myself in vain scribblings. As you wander the province of Skyrim, you will undoubtedly come across the band of justice-seeking warriors who call themselves the Vigilance of Stender. And when they aren't fighting, they are worshipping at a specific shrine, showing a horn pouring in the bowl. This symbol is the hallmark of the god of righteous might and merciful forbearance, Stendarr. Also known as Stendarr the Steadfast, he is the god of mercy, charity, well-earned luck, and most significantly, justice. He is known by some as the apologist of men, suggesting that this Aedra has a powerful affinity with mortals despite all their shortcomings. He is the patron of the Imperial Legion as well as the patron of magistrates, rulers, and knight-errants everywhere. What's going on, guys? It's Scott here and welcome back to FudgeMuppet. Today I'm here to bring you everything there is to know about another of the divines, one particularly popular in the northern land of Skyrim. This is of course Stendarr, so let's begin by looking at his teachings. Through his priests, his resolutes, and his Knights Templar, Stendarr makes his will known to the masses of Tamriel. He commands mortals to be kind and generous to the people of Tamriel. He asks them to protect the weak, heal the sick, and give to the needy. As the divine associated with justice, he makes his willingness to be merciful clear to his followers. As an apologist of men, he obviously accepts mortal flaws and has the capacity to forgive mistakes. Even heresy isn't unforgivable in Stendarr's eyes. Non-believers, the afflicted, the hopeless, and the forgotten can all seek mercy from Stendarr. This attitude likely inspires many poor souls to dedicate their bodies to the service of this god. Through the Vigilance of Stender, who we'll talk about soon, and through the various other judicial organizations created in his name, anybody can serve a noble purpose, so long as they are willing to bear arms and put their life on the line in the name of justice. Stendarr's emblem, used as a symbol on his shrines and in his places of worship, shows a horn pouring what is usually shown as wine, but sometimes other items. As the god of charity, this emblem likely represents the Horn of Plenty. In real-world mythology, the Horn of Plenty, often referred to as the cornucopia, originated from Greek and Roman mythology, and was a symbol of abundance and unending nourishment. This makes sense considering Stendarr's mercy and charity is supposedly infinite for all mortals. As I said, heretics are not excluded from Stendarr's mercy, so even heretics and godless men are likely to have some respect of this member of the divines. There is a real sense of modesty in the teachings of this deity. Mortals who open their hearts to Stendarr and his mercy often find themselves healed of serious wounds and ailments. It is believed, according to the precepts of Stendarr, that he can even stay any disease as well as soothe any broken soul. It is widely believed that Stendarr is responsible for bestowing mortals with the gift of magic and the ability to utilize its power. The use of restoration magic is especially significant, for those who employ this school of magicka to heal others are directly carrying out the will of Stendarr. Restoration spells associated with the manipulation of light can be used as a bane against the undead and is effective against creatures that are beyond Stendarr's healing hands. Necromantic beings are no longer mortal and are associated with darkness, thus they are the antithesis of Stendarr. Some restoration spells even credit Stendarr in name. Take Stendarr's auras for instance. This spell creates a ball of magnificent radiant light around the caster, engulfing them in Stendarr's power and damaging any undead who creep too close to the sacred aura. The undead are one of the 4 abominations unprotected by Stendarr's mercy. These abominations are the enemies of mortals, and Stendarr views them as abhorrent and unnatural, deserving of complete extermination without mercy. The other 3 abominations are Daedra, lycanthropes, and vampires. All of these are associated with Daedric princes and their realms of Oblivion. The notorious book Falsehoods and Fallacies of the Eight criticizes each of the divines. It claims that Stendarr only offers kindness to his followers and only provides mercy to those who offer something in return. Perhaps that belief is only held by pessimistic non-believers and heretics who would take personal credit for their achievements while blaming the divines for all their shortcomings, but it is certainly a valid argument to point to the vast injustices experienced by mortals and to wonder why Stendarr didn't show mercy to each and every mistreated soul. Stendarr commands mortals to submit themselves to his will and to follow his 4 precepts. These are: never refuse aid you are capable of providing, go among the infirm and the wounded wherever you find them, offer prayer to Stendarr every day, and do not hoard wealth or indulge physically. Stendarr actually originated from Nordic worship, where he was known as Stun, the god of ransom and the shield thane of Shor. Shor, of course, was the Nordic name for Lorcan, who was renowned for siding with men after the creation of the world and is the god of all mortals, so it makes sense for Stendarr's origins to be tied to Lorcan. Later, Stun became an object of worship across Tamriel and developed into his current form as a deity of righteous rule. With his origins in the Nordic pantheon, it is no surprise that we see such a strong presence of Stendarr worshippers and servants in the north. Like Mara and all the other divines, Stendarr was supposedly born from the great creation myth presented in the Annuad. We went over the basics of this in our Mara lore video, so I recommend checking that out if you haven't already. But basically, the divines were born of the combined blood of Anu and Padme, the good and evil forces. According to varieties of faith in the Empire, it is believed by Imperials that Stendarr accompanied Tiber Septim in his later years. Septim, of course, went on to become Talos, the ninth divine in modern Nordic belief. The same tome states that the smaller of Nirn's moons, Secunda, is actually known as Stendarr's sorrow. Lastly, the warp in the west, which rocked the Iliac Bay region in the 417th year of the Third Era, is attributed to the influence of Stendarr, Mara, and Akatosh. Stendarr is a member of the Ultima, Bosma, Breton, Imperial, and Khajiit pantheons and is worshipped across Tamriel. In Cyrodiil, the Imperials venerate Stendarr. A chapel of Stendarr existed in the city of Coral during the Second and Third Eras. Late in the Third Era, way shrines dedicated to this divine could be found scattered around the countryside. There was also a statue of Stendarr present in the Arbitorium of the Imperial City during the Second and Third Eras. Since that time, a lot has happened in the Imperial City, so we can't confirm how much has changed. Although considering the fact that Stendarr is worshipped by most of the Ultima, chances are this statue would not have been defaced during the Great War. In the Somerset Isles, Stendarr and his worshippers are frowned upon by the minority of elves who consider him the apologist of men. For the most part, though, he is revered, and the sect of Harmonious Masters of Lilandril was a sect dedicated to him and his teachings. The sect of Harmonious Masters came into being in the Second Era, and they hated violence, combating it by healing those in need and offering restoration tutoring to the general populace. One member of this sect, Aratanwe of Lilandril, refuted criticism from the small minority of High Elves in her book, Rituals of the Harmonious Masters. In Elsewhere, the Khajiit have also their own variation of Stendarr known as Srendarr the Runt. He is the son of Anur and Fadamai. It's pretty clear that, except for a very subtle change to the spelling and pronunciation of these names, they mirror Stendarr, Anu, and Padme from the creation myth. According to these beast folks, Srendarr became the god of mercy due to the fact that he was supposedly the weakest of the divines. In Jodewood, during the Second Era, a shrine of the consummate Srendarr was established, though the priests of the shrine were exiled soon later for refusing to acknowledge the edicts proclaimed after the adoption of the Riddle Thar Epiphany. In the Iliac Bay region, Stendarr is the patron deity of the Alakir, Boreain, Mornouth, Phrygius, Santakai, and Orvius regions. He is worshipped by both Bretons and Redguards. His temples existed all across the Iliac Bay region and administered by the Temple of Stendarr, a religious organization dedicated to the divine. The Temple of Stendarr was aligned with the benevolence of Mara, also active in the area at the time of the Third Era. Just like the Maran Knights, the Knights of Stendarr operated to protect the temples against adversaries, namely the Citadel of Ebenarm and their Order of Battle Lords. Stendarr is considered to be the most popular of the divines among Redguard forebears. In Skyrim, we know that Stendarr is not a part of the original Nordic pantheon, though his predecessor Stun is. Regardless, Stendarr is still worshipped with great enthusiasm by the residents of Skyrim during the Fourth Era. His shrines are abundant in the wilderness, he features in Solitude's Temple of the Divines, and the holy order known as the Vigil of Stender is very active in these parts since their establishment after the Oblivion crisis. In Morrowind, Stendarr is not part of mainstream worship, though during the late Third Era, worship of him was not unheard of on the island of Vardenfell. For the most part, Stendarr worship in Morrowind was carried out by non-natives. A shrine to Stendarr was present in the royal palace of Mournhold, and imperial missionaries were present in the province, spreading the good word of the divines. One of these missionaries, Ilias Truptor, even went by the name Stendarr Savant, while another claimed to have visions from Stendarr, guiding her to lost treasures. As I've mentioned a couple times throughout the video, perhaps the most noteworthy influence of Stendarr you'll see in your adventures through Skyrim comes in the form of the Vigil of Stender. This order of holy warriors can be found across Tamriel, delivering Stendarr's justice by wiping out Daedra and the other abominations wherever they rear their heads. They formed in the wake of the Oblivion crisis, vowing to combat all future Daedric influence in Tamriel. Their base of operations is the Hall of the Vigilant, south of Dawnstar in the province of Skyrim. A popular, albeit unofficial gathering spot for their members can also be found in the southeast of the province at Stendarr's Beacon. The Vigilants in Skyrim are led by Keeper Karset. When not in combat, Vigilants will heal wounds and diseases for any mortal travellers. While in combat, they generally use a combination of one-handed weaponry with defensive restoration magic. The Vigil work closely with the Dawn Guard, an order of vampire hunters founded by the former Vigilant of Stender, Isran. The Vigil, as well as the Dawn Guard's efforts to deal with the ancient clan of Volkihar vampires, cause trouble for the Vigilants, as the Hall of the Vigilant is destroyed by vampires and most of the members are butchered or killed in the fire. There are two known artifacts belonging to Stendarr. The first is a piece of the Crusader Armor and part of the Crusader relics given to Pelennor Whitestrake and the Knights of the Nine. It is believed that the gauntlets of the Crusader were created by Stendarr in the First Era when Whitestrake defeated Umriel the Unfeathered. Long after, in the Third Era, the gauntlets were found in the chapel of Stendarr and Coral after the former owner was deemed unworthy by Stendarr to carry the artifacts. The second artifact is Stendarr's hammer. This gigantic two-handed weapon is rumoured to have once been wielded by Stendarr himself, essentially serving as a mighty hammer of justice. The weapon drains or damages the foe's health in exchange for the wielder's stamina. As the god of justice, it makes sense that Stendarr can give life, and he can also take it away. This artifact was featured in Torasa Aram's museum in Mournhold, and it took 4 men simply to lift the thing onto its pedestal. And there you have it, guys, everything you need to know about the god of mercy, charity, well-earned luck and justice, Stendarr, the overseer of righteous rulers and the divine god of might and clemency. If you enjoyed the video and want to see similar lore videos going forward, maybe give the video a like. Thanks so much for watching, guys. My name is Scott and I'll be back to nerd out with you again next time.